Hello, my friend. I am Miss Luna. Thank you for coming and tuning in to what I'd like to call my hotels. Hotels, Tells. All right, so my name is Melissa Dunlap. And I guess we can start the tale from the beginning. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and I would say that I went to a very suburban school district, and I was pretty much raised in the way that most smart black kids are. Like, oh my gosh, my mom's like, you have to be successful, don't embarrass me in front of these white people, be the best at everything. So with that type of pressure, it was always like on it. So growing up, I was on the honor roll. I was in gifted fine arts. I did all the extracurricular activities in high school. I did student council. I was a Girl Scout all the way from little all the way up till graduation. I did, all types of, national delegate things with the Girl Scouts. I did for like the foreign language club. I did all this dance team, soccer, color guard. It was international club, not foreign language club. But yeah, so I did a whole bunch of stuff, not to mention the things I did with the Girl Scouts that was outside of school, because I had my troop and I did a lot of stuff like outside of my troop as well, because gotta be the best. Everybody cares about Girl Scouts. Everybody cares about, everybody cares. Like, you're gonna get so many scholarships. Oh my gosh. Like, so I did so much community service, all these things. I did all the things that you're supposed to do when you're in high school, right? All the things. Had a freaking mental breakdown my junior year because it was a mess, but I did it. I, graduated with like a 3.4, like just shy of magna cum laude, but who gives a fuck? But guess what? Who doesn't give a fuck? No one gives a fuck about really Girl Scouts for real, which sucks because, it's a pretty good program. But yeah, there are not a lot of scholarships available for that, or at least there were not back in 2012. So I got the little scholarships I got and went to college, went to Northwest Missouri State, right? Have a mental breakdown there because of all the pressure, all that jazz. And so I'm like, fuck. I end up not being able to survive. I end up not being able to, finish school because I needed money. And that's where the tale begins. So my freshman year at Northwest was very difficult, and not because the classes were difficult, but because it was a big transition for me. And everyone who knew me, everyone who was friends with me back growing up, the ones who actually just knew me, they saw this, a bit of a know-it-all, all these jazz. So, but my friends who actually knew my living situation, they were like, girl, it was like a running joke that I was gonna like become a stripper. And I would always laugh at them. I'm like, you guys, y'all are some haters. Like, why y'all, I would never. But, so it turns out that, my freshman year was very difficult. I end up just, when a kid grows up with the amount of pressure that I did, closed in the fist of their parent, not allowed to do anything or explore anything, have a sense of self. When they go to college and they experience all those things for the first time, they're finally free. So that's a big transition, especially for a kid who grows up in the conditions that I did. Like, when I tell you my mom was on my ass, like, more than white on rice. Like, nah. Like, like, it was, like, there were times where she would come, like, she came up to the school because she thought I did choir, and I didn't. Like, literally pulled my hair. It was like, well, you did choir. And the teachers had to be like, no, Miss Dunlap, she didn't do choir. Like, her schedule changed, blah, 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 blah. So, all that said, when I got to college, I was at first very happy to be free. But then it's like too much. You have too much time to think. And so when you grow up as I did, you're suppressing all of your trauma because you're too busy to think about your childhood traumas, you have all your activities, And so in college, on top of it just being a bad freshman year and a lot of other terrible things happening, there was also that. So all that being said, I ended up getting on academic probation. And then the only way for me, I lose the little bit of scholarships I did get. And so I'm like, well, fuck. I don't have a loan. I need like $990, like just shy of $1,000 to enter into my sophomore year. So I'm like, okay. So I got a job at McDonald's during the summer, but that was mostly to pay for where I was going to be staying that summer, because I decided to stay in Maryville and try and work and, get the money I needed to get. And so the money at McDonald's was only covering my living expenses, because me and like 5 other people were splitting a bed, like a 3-bedroom. So it was 2 per room, and we were all splitting the rent. So it only ended up being like $200-$300 or so. But still, whatever. And internet and whatever. And so McDonald's was just covering that. So I was like, shit, I still need to go back to school and all that shit in the fall. So a girl that I had met towards the end of the semester, she had actually told me that she was working at a club up in Council Bluffs, up in Iowa. And I was like, Now, in college, if you were lucky enough to know me, I was quite the dancer, and people would be shocked. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, Melissa! Like, we thought you were so quiet. We thought you were, a good little girl. Then you got to this party and you was throwing ass. Like, what's going on?" And so I was like, but again, I wasn't allowed to do shit. So whenever I got to college, like, I was pop locking and dropping it, because I wasn't pop locking and dropping it in high school. I mean, I was, but not really. But no, so I was quite the dancer in college anyway, like at parties, like, all that jazz. And so I was like, there's an idea. Like, if I'm going to be doing it for free on the weekends, like, why not do it for money? That was my thought process. And on Instagram, I'm seeing all these girls, like, getting bags and shit. And I'm like, ooh, I can get a bag. But mind you, I'm like, 19 at this time? And so I'm just like, Like, I didn't understand that, the regional differences from the Midwest to the South to the coast. I didn't know any of that yet, but I'd soon find out. But in the meantime, though, I'm like, shit. Like, how else am I gonna make this money? I'm only really making enough to live right now. So, but I still want to go back to school. So I end up riding up with her to the club to audition. And, she goes and tells them that I'm here. And now I want to paint this picture for you. I'm me. So to this audition, I don't think of I don't think of anything really. I have my natural hair out. I've got my glasses. I bring the book I was reading, which was Harry Potter, because I'm 19. It's fine. It's fine. So, quick editor's note. I have to tell y'all what I was actually wearing on my audition. I was wearing a Muppet t-shirt, but it was my most form-fitting t-shirt, but there was a picture of a vintage picture of the Muppets on it, and my shortest pair of shorts, which were like, they were short, but I thought it was a risque look. So I sit down and I'm like, she said they'll come and get me when they're ready. So I sit down, read a book, reading my Harry Potter book, just, and I'm sitting there for like 20 minutes and I'm just like, whatever, whenever they're ready. And a lady comes up to me and she's like, are you here for the audition? And I was like, yeah, why else would I be sitting here? And I'm looking at her like, duh. And she's looking at me like, she said, we thought you were somebody's child. And so, like, I finally go back. And again, like, this whole time I'm not nervous. Like, again, I'm reading my book, whatever. So she takes me back to the manager and my audition was easy. And again, like, you would think that I would be nervous, because Council Bluffs, the club was, what was the club? The Playhouse. So the club is called the Playhouse. It's this huge, like, warehouse. It's got, like, 8 poles down the stage. It's got a shower scene set up, and it's a full new club. That didn't faze me at all. Didn't even cross my mind. It's fine. And so the audition, he's like, he was actually, like, the manager was actually very nice and not creepy and weird. So I felt pretty comfortable. And so, ooh, I got Blue Lotus tea. Love it. Okay. And so, and he's just like, why do you want to dance? I'm like, I need money to go back to school. Pretty honest. And so he's like, okay, like, well, there's a pole in the room, and he's like, go ahead and do what you do. But, and of course I have to, like, get naked and shit. And I was like, okay. Because again, like, it makes sense to me because new club and I'm wearing clothes. And so again, it's fine. And so I didn't know how to do shit on the pole. And he was like, that's fine. You look good. Clothes back on. You're hired. So I'm like, and again, it wasn't like any weird, like, oh, show me what you got. Because I have seen that in other clubs in the Kansas City area. But this wasn't one of those times. The name I went by in Council Bluffs wasn't even Luna. My first dancer name was Scarlet. I thought I was being, like, very clever because, Scarlet Letter and Easy A. I thought I was cute. And then I will say how I got the name Luna was from Chrome. And it was 2 things, because the guy who's working there, one of the workers, Big Al, he said my booty looked like a moon. And I was like, okay. And I was like, because he wanted to say moon, and I was like, no, that's a stupid name. And so we both agreed on Luna. And also I also thought it was clever because, ooh, Luna is moon in Spanish, and like it's at night. And Luna is also one of my favorite characters from Harry Potter. So also that ends well. Because also Luna Lovegood is a real ass bitch. And so I was like, hey, I like your idea. We're gonna use that. And that's how, and I've been Luna ever since. Like I had to go by Soleil for a second, but that's because there was a white girl named Luna and it was weird. But no, it's been Luna. But my first experience actually, like, dancing in a club was actually, like, not terrifying. And so the feelings I was really feeling was like I didn't have any heels or anything. Like I didn't have shit. So I got me a little Walmart panty set, leopard print, had like ruffle panties, little black bra or some bullshit like that. It was a very beginner baby stripper outfit. We'll say that. And so, so fast forward, I don't have any shoes because I'm thinking I can just wear regular heels, and they're like, girl. So I end up borrowing some heels from a girl, and they're like 7-inch, no clear, and I hate clear sandals. I hate clear heels. Like you'll never, if you catch me in some clear pleasers, I'm dead. So these were some clear 7-inch pleasers with no ankle strap. So prior to this time, I had been very anti-heel. The first time me walking in heels for real was a Miss Black and Gold pageant. So I'm still very like new to heels, and so I'm like, fuck. Nobody else has let me borrow their shoes for real. So I'm just like, so the only thing I was really nervous about, to be honest, my first time dancing, was not busting my ass in front of a club full of people. Because again, like being naked, I'm just like, okay, whatever. I don't like you. Whatever, it's a strip club, so I wasn't really scared about that. I was actually oddly very comfortable. I was oddly very comfortable with that notion, because to me, for somebody who has been, sexually harassed, mildly assaulted for most of their life from various people, I'm just like, at least I can get money. Like, at least this is a logical situation where people would want to see me naked. So it wasn't like oh, my body. Oh. No, I was just like, okay, strip club, this makes sense. No problem being naked. No problem, like, just being up there in a little bra and panty outfit. No problem. And honestly, I was just more concerned about, like, not knowing how to do any tricks and, like, not breaking a fucking ankle. Because, when I tell you, I had went from, like, a cute, like, 5-inch, 4-inch club heel to fucking 7-inch pleasers. Like, no, like my ankles are like this big. So I was very concerned about that. That was what I was most nervous about. But honestly, like when I got on the stage, and it was some pop ass mix that was going, and it was a good feeling. I remember feeling in control and kind of like safe, which is weird because it's a strip club and they're strangers. And it was an interesting experience because again, I'm under the lights and the lights hit me and I'm just like, something clicked. And I will say it was like a wonder, like I won't say there's nothing better, but to me at that time, it was just it was a amazing feeling just to have the lights hit me and like I'm dancing, I'm performing and all of that stuff. And I don't know any pole tricks at this time, so I'm really just winging it. I'm just doing every dance move I know, like low key. I'm running through every movie scene where the bitches dancing and shit, being all sexy. Like I'm really just going through all that. And because once you're on the pole, once you're on stage, you have to go, you're on that stage the whole time, like about 30 minutes, because you do 2 songs on each pole. So you're just moving down the stage. So by the time you're done, hopefully you've collected, I collected about like $700. And I'm like, and so it was just a great feel. Like I was blown away because by the time I got off the stage for my first time, again, that's like $700. And I'm like, I was mad because I was like, yo, I've been dancing in clubs on these college dudes for free? For free? Yo, we could have started here. Okay, quick editor's note again. I have to let y'all know one of the things that I saw that was the wildest things to me at the time. So I told you all that they had a shower scene and shit for like bachelor parties. I did not know that white folks get so wild at these bachelor parties. Like, the men want to be spanked. That I had the first time I saw, that was the first time I saw like a grown adult like ask for a whooping, like with a belt, and like their friends would pay for it, and the bachelor would go up there, and the girl, and like one of his friends would hand the girl a belt, and the girl was supposed to beat this man, like whoop this man. And I remember the first time I saw that on my first night, and I was like, why would I was a child who was fucking beat, like, for real growing up. Like, why would y'all are doing this for fun? For funsies? Wild. Alright, that's all. You know what I mean? Like, but I was still, these were my thoughts at the time. And I was like, yo, how, like, why would I ever go out and dance at a club? Like, you know, just like at a regular club or whatever the fuck, for free. Like, that was done. That shit was done. And so it made sense to me, because I was like, yo, if I'm already the entertainment, like, why not get paid for it? Like, if I'm doing the same thing I would be doing anyway. And it was a pretty great experience for me. And on top of that, like, the dances were set up in a good way where, you know, there were guards. So if you felt unsafe if a customer got to do too much, like, it was pretty quick and easy to get it handled. And, you know, it was just a good first time experience, especially in a club where there's pretty good boundaries and setups where I felt, as a first time girl, I felt safe. And it was BYOB, so no, like, the guys had to bring their own liquor and shit. It was a good setup. One of the things that I learned in the strip club was really that everybody pretends. Everyone has a day self and a night self. And honestly, the night self is a little bit closer to the truth of their real personality. Because there's all different, there are a couple different types of patrons that come to the strip club, but everybody comes to forget about whatever they have going on in the outside world. And not even like the fantasy of the girls, like they may come to, you know, pretend that their lives are more grand than what they are. So, because again, like, they know that they are that $500 is part of their rent, but you don't know that, like, as a dancer or as a fellow patron. Like, so you think dude's on his do a big trip, and again, like, everybody who comes to the strip club really just wants to be seen, really. And yeah, you'll have a good time, and like, because there's also that factor, because it's definitely a good time, but there's also a bubble aspect to it. The strip club is a nice, safe bubble. You know what I mean? I hate those guys who come into the strip club and be like, oh, like, I ain't even here for this, it's for real. Marcus, you are here every Thursday and you get one drink that takes you 2 hours to drink. Quit fucking playing with me. Because my thing is this. The guys who, like, y'all not coming to the strip club just for a drink. Because you can get a drink from anywhere. You can go to the gas station and get a drink. You know, you can get a whole bottle at the gas station for a much better price. So why are you here? You know what I mean? Like, you want to drink and look at some booty. Like, let's be for real. Like, let's be honest. If you just don't have the money to then just say that. Or don't come. You cannot come. It's always okay to stay home. Always. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, why didn't you could have been a waitress, you could have worked at Hooters, like, why did you feel like you had to dance? And my thing is this. if I want to be sexually harassed, like if I'm, which is all girls, like girl waitresses know, you know what I mean? So if you're a waitress, you're basically working for tips anyway, because you only getting paid $3-4 an hour. If you're like, unless you're at like a fancy restaurant that actually likes to pretend that they give a fuck. But if you're at a regular fucking restaurant, you're getting paid like $3-4 an hour. So you're basically working for tips anyway, and you have to deal with way worse. Not way worse, but you have to deal with the same shit. Like, you still have to deal with rude ass customers who think they own the shit the second they walk in and sit down. Like, so I'm just like, $4 an hour plus tips, or tips plus tips. And also, it's just like, again, like, I have more control over the situation in the strip club than I do in a restaurant. Because if, you know, somebody's rude to me in the strip club, I can be rude right back. I can cuss them out. Or I could just not talk to them. When somebody's rude to you in a restaurant, you have to still serve them. You know what I mean? You just gotta, what Granddad from Boondock say? I just had to go around the corner and cry. Like, nah, fuck that. So that you have to eat so much shit in a restaurant, and I'm just like, yo, you can have way more. I felt I had way more control in the strip club than I did in, you know, the typical, you know, gig waitress type deal. Because there was a big, and especially in Kansas City, there was a big turnaround between the girls who worked at Hooters, the girls who worked at, what was that other place? With the plaid skirts. Shit. Twin Peaks. There was a big turnaround between the girls who worked at like Twin Peaks and Hooters, and they would end up at the club. So don't tell me. I used the strip club to work out a lot of my issues, like internally. Just because, honestly, when I'm dancing, when I was on the stage and performing, it was a good way for me to really work through my feelings, honestly. Because, yeah, you should be thinking about whoever is, like, throwing you money, but I'm thinking about life and what I'm doing and shit. And so, and internally, honestly. And so, for me, being able to transport myself to another realm while I'm performing was very therapeutic for me. And I don't think that I would be nearly as strong of a person had I not danced. And so I had ended up saving a good chunk of that. The first thing I bought with the first money I bought, because at the end of the night I ended up making it like end of my first night I made like $900. So, I mean, I could have paid my college stuff then, but I'm like, fuck that. No, so the first thing I bought 3 things. I bought Beyonce tickets, because at this time she was on the Mrs. World Carter tour. And I bought 2 tickets for me and my bestest friend in the whole wide world. And 2, I bought a bicycle because I was living in Maryville and I could not drive. And so I needed a way to get around. 3, I bought a cell phone for myself, my first cell phone, because the one that I had, my mother controlled, and she had cut off texting and calling after midnight because it was a punishment. And again, as a young adult, I kind of need texting and calling after midnight, you know. And again, her money, her phone. So I was just like, hey, my money, I can get my own phone. She ain't like that, but you know, whatever, fuck it, we ball. So that was that. And it was at the end of the summer, I really did end up saving enough for my first semester and getting through, just to find out at the end of the semester I needed like another $4,000 to continue into my second semester of my sophomore year. Guess what happened? we dropped out. Or not dropped out, we just left. Same thing, right? Yeah. And that is the end of chapter 1 of my hotels. So I think for me, dancing was a way, and still is, it was a way for me to really start to learn my boundaries, really start to set a ground to stand up for myself. Because growing up, I couldn't really do that. It was what my mom said, what my parents said, and that was that. Whether it was true or not, that was what you had to go with. And so I grew up, my opinion didn't matter. What I actually wanted to do didn't matter. So I just had to go along to get along. And so in the world of, stripping and shit, like, you can't do that. You have to, if you're one of those girls who just goes with whatever tells you, you're going to end up in a bad way real quick. And so that was where I found myself, and like where my own boundaries are where I can say no and mean it, and where I learned that nobody can really check me for real because I'm grown. And this is my body, and all of the choices that I make aren't up to anybody else just because they have something in their hand, or they don't have any power. You know what I mean? Especially when they came in the club. Like, you come to the club to see the girls. Like, so any power you think you got, X that shit out. Because a lot of guys come in there, oh, I got the money, so you should do what I want to. No. Because if you just wanted to, flaunt money around, you would just went to a regular club and bought bottle service and did that. But yet you came here. So quit playing with me. But it took me a while to get to that point, to just be like, hey, I'm actually in control here. Like, I actually can. And once I realized that, it was a game changer, and a game changer just in my own personal life as well. But we'll tell you more about that later. Thank y'all for listening. Bye.